Uh,
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand few questions, so I left it. I hope that does not.
No, like
Mhm.
mm, I had explained enough in the class, I think, and you could have gone back to your recording, back to the recordings.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, from next time, please let me know in advance of the classes, as I'll give you assignment.
But
For
like,
this time,
the portal was not on for a while, and we did not know about the questions, Nida.
yeah, okay. So portal was live for 4 days. I would say there was technical glitches,
Mm-hmm.
and before that, I had uploaded much before, and okay, it's fine. But those who have submitted, there are few, right? And of course, I'll check theirs and I'll revert back with whatever they have learned. I'm
Okay.
going to give home assignments for this time value of money. So from this time, please let me know if you have any queries, you are confused regarding any point, okay?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Okay. So where were we in the last? Let's start with revision since many of us are on the way to join the session. So I'll start with revision, okay? Since today is last class of time value of money, and again, I've been stressing you, time value of money will is the concept which will be used in almost all the chapters around. So you must get hold of it anyway. Okay. Okay. So I'll start with revision. Share application screen. Okay. So is the slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. Okay. So where were we in the last class? We discussed about annuity due, I guess, right? Did we or not? We are yet to discuss it.
Let me check.
So guys, help me out. Where were we in the last class? Students. Did we discuss about future value of an annuity due? Okay. I think we have discussed perpetuities as well, as far as I remember. Did we not? Did I mention about Nobel Peace Prize, Oscar, and all in the last class? Did I?
Yes, sir. I think you did.
Yeah, right. Okay. Let me revise quickly then. If some you guys are confused, okay. Since we are going to do today practical questions, so it will be better for us to delve into problem and solution, and it will help you to understand how to solve problems, and also you'd also understand how time value of money is applicable in our real life. Okay, one of the students was asking question that, sir, okay, you told us it is applicable in our life. I've been understanding it a while, but I'm a little bit more confused regarding um, what is the implication of time value of money. So I have brought all the practical questions which is of real case scenario, and we have planned to solve 10 of those questions in today's class. Okay, so after at the end of those questions, I hope that you'll be clear about time value of money, and you could solve homeworks which I'm going to give you as a home assignment, and it will be graded. Okay, now I have understood that section B is not going to do homeworks, or they are not going to do presentations unless it is graded. They are not. You guys have to be alert like section A. And it doesn't depend on whether you are in any section. It depends on you, right? How much understanding you have. Okay, and is there competition among your class or not? Like at the end of the session, who is the class topper? This kind of announcement happens between BBA. What is the trend of is? Help me out, guys.
सर हुन त हुन्छ।
हुन्छ जस्तै तपाईँहरूको बिबिए मा फोर्थ सेमिस्टरमा हु इज द टपर भनेर आउँछ नि होइन?
अनाउन्स चाहिँ गर्नुहुन्छ।
ए ओके ओके ग्रेट। It doesn't depend whether you are in section A or B. It depends on you. My point is that, right? So please, it's not, yeah, it's also about how much you learn and imply in your practical life. I've been stressing that much, okay? So let's move on. Annuities, you might have understood that. Two things you must understand. I'll quickly revise, okay? One is equal, the payment must be equal, and it must be in fixed interval, okay? So if the payment is done in 1, 2, and 3 period, and if the EMI is paid as monthly installments paid 100 rupees at the end of each year, okay? So these are annuities. And if I have to give you example of the one which is not annuity, if your cash flow is 100, the second year cash flow is 200, and the third one cash flow is 300, year 1, 2, 3, although the time period is same, right? Fixed intervals, fixed interval of period, but the payments are not equal. So these are not an annuities. These are not annuities. Okay. So there are two kind of annuities. One is annuity, another is annuity due. 90% of annuities are ordinary annuities. Little bit, few of annuities are of annuity due kind. Okay. So annuity due means if you are getting or if you are compounding or if you're getting interest at the end of the session. Doesn't it happen in the banks all the time and interest all the time, isn't it? A practical scenario is also that somebody pays you money for the use of that money for a certain period of time, isn't it? And that is the case of annuity due. Sorry, ordinary annuity. And the case of annuity due is that at the start of the session, like an advance, like advance rent, right? So at the start of the session here, you pay your outflow, right? Maybe it may be interest or something. So that is called annuity due. Okay, I have already explained this in last class. Next is formula of future value of ordinary annuity is same like formula of future value. Okay, you just have to add these periods, because now there are how many periods? 1, 2, 3, 3 periods, right? So we are trying to find individual annuities, but what we can decipher from this particular individual addition is that you can summate it, right? You might be good in mathematics, right? You can just summate it as this particular formula, okay? And you can apply that formula and find annuity. Or if you say that, no, sir, okay, I have time, I can do cash flows of, I can find future value of and each period individually, then you can do that as well, right? But it might be time consuming, so you would like to apply the formula. Okay, the formula is same like of future value. Okay, you can go through mathematical deductions, and I request you to do these homeworks. Okay, I have given you these test yourselves homeworks in between. Again, future value of annuity due, I explained that concept in the last period as well. So if these are period, okay, these are period 1, 2, and 3, okay. Okay, so if you are getting interest from here, first, okay, second, and third. So if you are getting interest from here, or if you are paying your payments from here, right, then that is annuity, right? So first period goes to 2 periods, second period goes to 1 period, third period is there itself in the future value. In the case of annuity due, what happens is that in that first period, this first period, right, you get an extra interest. So for annuity due, first period is this, second and third, okay. So it's always zero, but my point is that for you pay first payment, this is P1, I would say P2 and P3. First payment is P1, second payment P2, third payment P3. So notice that P1, right, P1 travels 3 times, 1, 2, and 3 times, right? And in the case of ordinary annuity, this P1 traveled 2 times, right? So as simple as that, future value due is equal to ordinary future value ordinary plus interest of 1 period, isn't it? Interest of this period itself. Okay, is it clear? Okay, I have explained this as well in the last class. So you just add ordinary annuity with interest of 1 period, then you get ordinary due. So then similar, you can now discount. We learned compounding future in the future value, right? Before, while we were learning future value and present value, I already explained you the concept of compounding. Compounding happens for finding future value from all other metrics, and finding present value happens after discounting the future value, right? So we get present value. So for present value annuity, you find accordingly. Okay, so please solve these questions. And finding annuity payments, periods, and interest. So this also I think we have covered in the class. I showed you through Excel sheet as far as I remember. We changed N, we changed I, we changed PMT. There are 5 different metrics in this whole chapter, right? So likewise we can change it. Okay, so this PVA factor, I'm going to show this in question number 1, which we are going to solve. Okay, and I'm going to show you table as well. Table is really simple. And perpetuity, all the awards like Oscar awards, Nobel Peace Prize, and big amount of money, or if you have big amount of money and you want the returns for n number of period, that is called perpetuity. Perpetuity is simply annuity without time. Okay, annuity without time. Formula is PMT divided by 1 per month installment payment divided by interest. Okay, so uneven cash flows, we have been learning about uneven cash flows. I have been explaining a lot of times. So this is period 1, 2, 3. If in the period 1, okay, in the period 1 payment is 200, in the period 2 payment is 100, in the payment 3 period is 50, then it is called uneven cash flows, right? Uneven cash flows. The cash flows may be inflow or outflow. It may be inflow or outflow. You please don't get confused, right? It may be inflow, it may be outflow, right? Okay, so these are uneven cash flows, right? If you want to find present value, you discount here with the rate, right? If you have to find future value, then you take it towards the future. Simple. Okay, So there are two kinds of uneven cash flows. One is class A and one is class B. So these class A's are like simply you will be like paying like annuities, right, in a fixed period, and at the last period you are going to get an extra sum of money, maybe 200 in the place of maturity. When your bonds matures, then what happens is that you were getting interest on fixed period of fixed period, right? So at the end, what happens? The bond matures, and with the interest, you are going to get your money of bond back, isn't it? Like principal of the bond, I would say, or amount you invested at the beginning here, isn't it? So yeah, if you invest in bonds, then you are going to get these annuities and plus annuity plus final lump sum payment, one payment. Okay, so that is one class A type of uneven cash flows. Although these, you might say that, sir, there are even cash flows, right? 100, 100, and 100. There are even cash flows. So why it is not annuity? Please observe that here you get cash flow of 200 as well, right? At the end. So now, although 3 or 4 periods they were like annuities, but at the end there is one more lump sum payment, and that because of that reason it doesn't qualify as annuity. Okay, for to be annuity, it must be equal, isn't it? Okay, so the key, first class A's example is bond, and if we move on, then for class B example, for class B example we find everywhere. This is more popular kind. Okay, class B, you are getting again 100, 200. So these initial cash flows or starting cash flows or other cash flows also doesn't, they are not identical to each other, right? They are uneven, okay, from the start itself. So random kind of cash payments or random kind of cash, cash payments are categorized as class B kind of uneven cash flow. So examples are stock. You don't know whether Noble Bank or any other bank, NICICI or Siddharth Bank, they are going to give you dividend for this year. How much dividend you don't know, right? So after financials will be public, after they will understand that how much capacity they have and how much profit they earned and how much they can allocate as dividend, then only they allocate dividend. If I have to give you an example, if this year Nobel gave you a dividend of 35%, in the previous year it was 20, and before that it was 45% as well. So every year it changes, right? The uneven cash flows, right? Dividend in this case was different, isn't it? So it's an stocks and capital investment are some of the examples of uneven cash flows. Okay, I hope you have understood it. These are the revision. Please go through these questions. Next, future value of an uneven cash flows. Similar. Solving I with uneven cash flows, right? Now, what you can do is that for solving I, we discussed this in chapter 3, Introduction to Capital Budgeting. So let's leave it here. We will not discuss about this. I'll be teaching you. There is one concept of IRR. Okay, IRR. Okay, so this concept we will be discussing in capital budgeting in the initial classes. I'm going to teach you in that class. Okay, we will not discuss this here. Next is semi-annual and other compounding period. I also discussed this enough. Like compounding, in the case of compounding, we have understood that n means number of compounding period. It is not number of years, isn't it? Rate means rate for that compounding period, isn't it? So please don't get confused regarding that. Let us do this problem, and I think it will further illustrate us. Assume we deposit $100 in an account that pays 5%, okay, and leave it there for 10 years. What is the future value if compounded semi-annually? Okay, so assume we deposit $100 means present value, isn't it? Present value is $100. $100 in an account that pays 5% interest. What is the rate? I is 0.05. Okay, let me solve through Excel sheet. Okay. Okay. So question has given present value, right? Present value is 100. Okay. What is the rate? I would say is 0.05, right? And leave it there for 10 years. What is the time period? 10 years, right? What is the future value if compounded semi-annually? Now the question has changed is its course, right? Semi-annually. Please, I have been stressing it a lot of times. Please find these terms in the question: semi-annually, annually, quarterly, daily, monthly, any kind of these kind of periodic terms. Please find it. Okay, if you find it, then you'll understand what is your compounding period and what is your effective rate of interest. Okay, so as it has asked us what is future value if compounded semi-annually. Now, what would be our number of period? Anyone? What would be our n? If the question had not given semi-annually, or if the what would be the future value if the question had only had finished here, okay, then okay, we would have solved this problem likewise, right? We would have found present value here and we would have solved this question. But the question is written semi-annually. Okay, so help me out, students. What would be our n now? Are you there in the class? Okay, now I'm going to pause, guys. I'm not going to go through other slides. Okay.
क्वेसनमा सेमी एनुअली छ भन्नुभयो नि त हैन सो इज इट 6 month
Wait, I think you are confused. Okay, so here we go. I am asking you what is n? Now the n was 10, right? Question had asked us leave it there for 10 years, isn't it? So what would be the number here? What will be our compounding period? That is my question. If you do not understand this, I'm not going to go any further because it's useless to go further in the class. Yes?
is it 20
Yeah, it's 20.
mm.
Yeah, correct answer, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because the period is doubled, right? Semi-annual period. Because we have been asked what is future value if compounded semi-annually, right? So what will you do? You will multiply 10 by 2 because the period we are now compounding every 6 months. Okay, so like this, if again if this is the period, right? Previously it was 1 year, compounding period was 1, but because of this term semi-annual, now we are compounding in between as well, here as well, right? So the compounding period n increases by 1 time. That means now compounding period is 2. Okay, so it is 20. Now what would be our I? What would be our interest in this case? Effective interest for compounding period. It's very basic, guys. I have been telling you. I think it's been 5 to 10 times, right?
0.25.
How did you find that?
By dividing by 2.
Yep. So you know the answer, right? You divided it by 2. Right? So you know the answer, then please respond. Now I'm assuming that you don't know anything yet. Whatever I have taught you. So I cannot go further towards the class because I'm going to solve other questions as well along with you. I have brought 10 wonderful questions so that your clarity will come, right? So if you don't respond, I'll be in the case that now it's useless for you to tease. Rather, I would leave this class and tell you to go and revise, right? So you know the answer, then please respond at least, okay? Yeah, perfect. So you divide it by 2. So what is the logic for those who have not understood it or for those who did not pay any attention? Okay. Why the rate is half? The rate which is given in the question is 5%, okay? And we have always understood that whatever the rate question has given, that is always annual if not mentioned specifically. If question had said, assume we deposit $100 in an account that pays 5% semi-annually, then our rate would be 5%, right? Because our compounding period is semi-annual, isn't it? But if question has not mentioned anything, then we have to assume that that rate is annual. Okay, so this 5% is annual. 5% is annual, right? It starts from period 0 to the period 1, and this for this whole period we are going to get amount of 5% interest of 5%, right? But our period has been dissected by the term semi-annual, isn't it? So as our period has been multiplied by 2, that means that this is 6 months, this another one is 6 months, isn't it? Out of that 1 year. Okay, so out of that 1 year, this 5% which is annual interest rate, we are not going to get 5% in 6 months, right? We are going to get 2.5% in this 6 months and 2.5% in another 6 months. Okay, so we are just dividing the rate. We are not like doing something new. We are just dividing that rate so that we could adjust that to the compounding period. Okay, you can charge 5% annually, you can charge 2.5% semi-annually. It would be same, right, if there was no compounding. Okay, I hope it clears.
हजुर sir.
Okay, so future value, you can find future value now. Okay, is equal to, what is the present value? 100, right? You just add interest to the 100, 1 plus I. What is the I? 0.05, right? To the power, how many? What is the compounding period? It is 20. Okay, so okay, so our rate is not 0.05. You guys did not correct me. It's, sorry, B3. It's 0.25, right? So our answer is 163.8616. Okay, so you might have query that maybe what would be, how much difference does it make by compounding semi-annually, right? If we had not compounded semi-annually, if we had just compounded yearly on the yearly basis, then what would be our future value? Number of period is 10, per month installment 0, and future value is, it's not present value, it's future value. Future value, rate is 0.5, number of period is 10, per month installment 0, present value is minus 100, minus B2. Okay. So what will be the difference? Difference between compounding semi-annually and annually would be $0.9722, and in this case we have minor difference, right? But what if, now you see, you can do all sort of calculations in Excel, or you can change one matrix and you can find solution. Okay, and you can do these calculations. Yeah. So if the question asks you only of $100, right? What if we change the interest rate, right? So what if we change the amount as well? We might say this as 1 lakh rupees or $1 lakh, right? Then now you can see there will be a huge difference, right? The difference is 162,725, right? So it is very important for you to understand and learn this compounding. So if you change this amount, it might change, right? It will change, of course, right? So here is $100 only. So the difference is really low. Okay. So you might say that, sir, we are investing in safe stock or the security or script which we are investing in, that is just 5%, that is giving us return of just 5%. And as I mentioned, there is universal concept: higher the risk, higher the return, isn't it? So you might say that, okay, I want to multiply this 100 by huge return. So you might want to invest in risky returns. Okay, so let us invest in something which gives us 50% return. Okay, 50% return. What will be the difference then? You see, now the difference is, it's substantial, right? So more you play with these figures, then you'll understand that how the compounding changes. Okay. So any queries yet?
No, sir. अहिले clear भयो.
Okay. So please open, at least I request you to please open this Excel sheet and try to find other denominations. If question has asked future value, you can, and after you have found out future value, you try to find rate, and then you try to find n. So you play with these 5 different factors for a while. Then there is no need for you to go through these slides during examination. Okay, you'll understand this conceptually. Okay, so let us move on. So
Sir,
please try. Okay.
uh,
Yes.
हामीले यो
भन्नु न. So what were you saying? So there might be technical glitch.
sorry, I muted. Sorry. So हजुरले एक्सेलमा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यसरी गर्ने भन्नुभयो नि त.
Yeah.
अब कपीहरूमा गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब एउटा फर्मेटिङ हुन्छ नि, त्यो त अब आइडिया छैन नि त हामीलाई राम्ररी फाइनेन्सको.
Okay.
सो फ्यु एक्जाम्पल्सहरू दिनुभयो भने अलिकति राम्रो हुन्थ्यो भनेको.
ओके, यस्तो हुन्छ कपीमा पनि फर्मेटिङ, लाइक यो छ नि, यो मैले I have always given this. Okay, you can see this. I have always given you something which you can do on your own, right? I understand that you are not, you will not be given Excel file during your examination, right? So you can calculate this in your through, like, you can calculate this in your calculator. Okay, normal calculator, not even scientific. You can do no, I think this power, you cannot hit this power without scientific. Okay, so you can solve by doing like this. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I have included these on my slides. Okay, so there must not be any problem, and I have also given you, let me show you. Okay,
क्याल्कुलेटरमा भन्दा पनि एज इन अब हामीले कुनैको सल्युसन गर्दैछौँ भने
yeah.
हजुरले चाहिँ अब विनो अब हुन्छ नि यस्तो यस्तो छ क्वेसनमा अनि सल्युसन भनेर लेख्ने हुन्छ नि, अलिकति फर्मेट हुन्छ नि.
Okay, so you see, we don't need any format like that. Like, you are not going to get marks for your working, like solution and त्यसपछि तल यो and left right clean neat गराउने, that is up to you, that is up to your creativity and all. So main point भनेको, you have to find answer with right formulas. के त्यति भएपछि we don't need like एकदम मिलाएर त्यो solution, because we are bachelor's students now. We are above above those okay working यसरी नै गर्नुपर्छ हार्ड एन्ड फास्ट हुँदैन अब हजुरहरूले you can find answer in any way चारवटा वे पनि बनाएको थिएँ मैले हैन सो फर्मेट भनेको इफ यु वान्ट है त्यो फर्मेटहरु यु क्यान एक्सपेरिमेन्ट विथ योर ओन के यसो गर्दा भयो नि त सोल्युसन लेख्ने हैन यु राइट सोल्युसन एन्ड देन हियर आर लाइक यसरी टाइमलाइन बनाउने मैले अस्ति भन्दै छु नि तपाईहरुलाई सुरुमा क्वेशनमा यु मेक दिस टाइमलाइन हैन सोल्युसन लेख्ने हैन सोल्युसन लेखेर यु मेक दिस टाइमलाइन एन्ड देन आफ्टर दिस यु राइट फर्मुला एन्ड देन यु सल्भ द प्रब्लम एन्ड देन यु राइट आन्सर राइट this is the way you write solution timeline okay so that you will understand and after timeline you write the formula and that is the answer okay
okay thank you
okay so I hope that you have understood this. The next is comparing interest rates and effective annual rate. There is a difference between nominal interest rate and effective annual rate. You know that banks all around the world has been providing us misleading information. You might not know. Okay, so let me ask you a question. So what are the information regarding interest rates which banks have been displaying us which is misleading? Any random guesses from audience? Any student?
अब सर्टेन पिरियडको लागि घट्यो भनेर हुन्छ नि अब इन्ट्रेस्टहरु घट्यो भनेर भन्छ हैन अनि तब चाहिँ लोन लिँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब लो रेटमै हुन्छ अनि पछि केही टाइम पछि चाहिँ वात्तै बढाइदिन्छ हैन अनि आई थिंक दैट इज आल्सो मिसलिडिङ अब
yeah, Archana, you have strike on heart of the problem, which Nepal banking, many banks in Nepal have defamed the market, right? I have seen a lot of banks. One of the example was NICICI. They were constantly increasing interest without notice to clients, and clients in the first place they were complaining like we took interest rate at around 6%, 7%, but today the rate is 14-15%. Right, so that is one answer, practical answer. Anyone else? Any new idea? Banks have been misleading us regarding interest rate. Do you know what it is?
sir अब I don't know if this is included or not हैन तर few ब्याङ्क्सहरुले चाहिँ आफ्नो इन्फर्मेसन चाहिँ एकदम आफ्नो धेरै प्रफिट भए जस्तो अथवा थोरै डेब्ट भए जस्तो देखाएर कम्पनी राम्रो हो भनेर त्यो शेयर बेच्न खोज्छ जस्तो त्यो देखेको छ के अहिले हैन अब मैले देखे अनुसार so I think that is also a problem.
Yeah, Archana, that is also partially true. A-class banks cannot do that, but what they do is they play with accounting policies. As you can ask your management teacher, costing, what is it? Management accounting, I guess that is the subject. So you can ask your management accounting madam, and she would explain you like how accounting policies would be played so that your profit will be shown much more, right? So apart from that, materially, there are few organizations like Class B, development banks, financial institutions, and the most you can find in Sahakari Sanstha, okay, cooperatives. That kind of malpractices happens, right? They are still pertinent in our society. So okay, so I was seeking for another answer. You gave other insights, okay? That is also fruitful. Okay. Okay, banks all around the world, when they are going to give loans to public, what they usually do is that they show you, like they tell you, we are going to, please come and take loan at the rate of 10%. Like they will say Mahila Udyami, and sometimes they will say entrepreneurs loan, or sometimes they tell you the names of product are different, right? They take euta ek parivar euta gar and all. So they tend to give you different kind of products, right? And they state that certain percentage of interest rate, right? They say that it's just 7% or just 10%, you can avail that loan, okay? And it is the malpractice, I would say, all around the world, okay? To show that, okay, to play with your conscious, I would say, subconscious mind, to present as that loan interest rate is really low, so that they can persuade you, they always show you nominal interest rate, okay? This nominal interest rate means annual percentage rate, which is quoted rate by the banks all around the world, I would say. So this rate is something they show, like the teeth of elephant, right? There are two kind of teeth of elephant, one to show, one which is actual. This is the one to show. Why would bank do that? It looks wonderful, like in the case of elephant as well, the teeth they have outside, they are beautiful, isn't it? So it's persuasive, these rates are, because they are low. But if you keep on calculating, right, whatever the interest you pay, you are going to pay interest in that as well, because that interest is going to compound, right, over the period of 10 years, which is already fixed, over the period of 5 years, which is already fixed. They could have, let me repeat, they could have calculated effective annual rate, which might be actual rate which we pay to the banks, okay? But they do not do that. Why? Because they want to show loan rates at lower rate, right? So these rates which they declare, it doesn't include compounding. That is not compounding adjusted interest rates, okay? But as a financial person, we can calculate our effective annual rate, isn't it? We can calculate how much amount, that actual amount is going to go outside, okay? We are going to pay back to the banks for that particular capital project. How much actual money is going to go? According to that, we are going to find our effective annual rate, right? We will adjust all the compounding which happens, okay? All the compounding which happens meanwhile, okay? Okay, so nominal interest rate, which is like outside, right, which is declared by banks while they are charging on loans, okay? These are the rates which are prevalent all around the world. And another is effective annual rate. It is only available to financial person who can calculate effective annual rate, right? So we can reduce that, I would say, deviation from our budget, right? We might have budget of 5 lakhs rupees to pay our interest rates, right? And we might miss budget a little bit, right? Because our calculation will include compounding as well. But for laymen or general public, they might start calculating through nominal interest rate, and their calculation might be a little bit different, or a deviation, more deviation might happen, okay? So to move on, this upward is 10.25% is effective annual rate, right? And 10% is nominal annual rate. Here is an example. Okay, so if the period is constant, okay, if the compounding period is constant, we are not compounding this, okay, we are compounding this just for 1 year. If the period is same, then nominal interest period and effective interest period is same in this particular case one. But if you observe in case 2, we are compounding semi-annually, right? In that case, our effective rate is, nominal rate is 10% and effective rate is 10.25%. And likewise, we are calculating in the rate of, in the way of nominal interest rate. Okay. So if the period is different, because as compounding changes, right, the difference between this effective annual rate and nominal interest rate comes out of compounding, right? If compounding period is same, then For the year one, both the rates will be same. But if compounding happens in between as well, then you will see observe the changes. Okay. So to calculate effective rate and nominal rate, what you can do is first of all you can solve through this formula. It is also mathematical denotation. Okay. And next is you can calculate through Excel sheet as well. Okay. In the Excel sheet, what you can do is simply our normal rate, nominal rate is 10%. Let us assume. Okay. Then what is the effective annual rate? You just type here in the slide. I have written here. You can find there is equal to effective EFFECT. Okay, what is the rate? 10% means 0.1, right? So effective rate would be is equal to EFFECT, effect nominal rate. What is the compounding period? It's semi-annual, right? So compounding period is 2. So you will get answer of 10.25%. It is 0.1025. So this is actual interest rate. So why would bank say? Bank had to tell you our interest rate is 10%, right? Bank usually say you it's 10%, but in actual it is 10.25%. That is effective rate which we are going to pay to the banks. Okay, so is it clear?
हजुर सर.
Okay. Okay, so please do solve these questions. Okay, test yourself. Now fractional time periods, again it is also part of semi-annual compounding or fractional time periods. Like I don't think you know this concept, but in the world there are some banks which provide you interest rate according to your heartbeat. Okay, like one time heart pumps duck 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 duck, then the amount is compounded according to your heartbeat, like automatic clock which moves around, right? So you might say, so it's not possible to calculate, like it moves all the time. So how can we calculate? It's so dynamic. So how can we calculate compound interest or present value or future value in this case? You can definitely calculate it because the concept is same. You just have to adjust your compounding period or adjust your compounding rate, right? Apart from that, it's very simple for you to calculate. Let us solve with this problem. Suppose you deposited $100. What is the present value? $100. Suppose you deposited $100 in a bank that pays a nominal interest of 10%, but adds interest daily based on 365 days. So what is the compounding period? It has given. Please focus on this. It's a daily. It charges interest on daily basis, right? How much would you have after 9 months? Question is asked. How much will you have after 9 months? So you see in question, you might find two kinds of question. One might state that you have 365 days, and another question might state that you might have 360 days. So please follow it as a Bible. Whatever is given in question, please follow that. Okay. So here we have been asked our future value after 9 months, isn't it? Our future value after 9 months. So how would you find that? So it's simple. N. Okay. What is N? N is 9 months, right? But we don't know how many days 9 months is. We have to convert that 9 months into days. First of all, let's convert this interest into daily compounding, right? Daily. This is yearly. Now daily. For daily, what will you do? Just divide rate, because that rate is of annual, right? So how will you find daily rate? You'll divide it by 365 as it's given in the question, isn't it? So for number of period of compounding, what will you do? You have been given that there are 9 months, right? So is equal to 9 divided by 12 into 365. So how many days are there in 9 months? 273. If question had given 9 months divided by 12 into 360, right? So the days would be 270. Your answer would be wrong if you assume 360, right? So how many days are there in 9 months? You just convert that. You convert 9 months into day, right? You divide 9 by 12 and then you multiply by 365. You exactly find. So in as a unitary method as well, what you can do, in 12 months there are 365 days, right? So how many days will be in 9 months? Simple calculation, isn't it? 365 into 9 months divided by 12. You'll get 273. Okay. I hope you are not confused with it. So these are our number of compounding period and number of interest. Present value is same. So how much is the future value? Present value bracket 1 plus what is the I? Interest to the power n. Okay, 107.79. Any confusion?
Sir, यो हजुरले 9 मन्थको राख्नुभयो नि डे
Yeah.
73.75
Yeah.
यो पोइन्टले चाहिँ कतिको भ्याल्यु दिन्छ? I mean, if
So,
it is important or not?
yeah, please, I request you to please, while you calculate, please take into consideration all the amounts of all the decimal points. Okay, like here also you can see how many decimal points are there, 4, 5, right? But if you skip this 2, 7, 4, 4 and 7, then there are chances that you might not get the actual answer. So please don't ignore these points. You have to take these points as well. Answer will be a little bit like somewhat same. There will not be exponential difference. Okay. Okay. If we subtract it by minus, okay, subtract it by minus 0.75, how much will be different? See, it will just be 0.78, or you will get 0.76, right? Apart from 7, 8, there will be minor difference. But why to deviate from the answer if we can get correct answer? Okay.
Yes, sir, got it.
Right, so you can see the difference as well, right? If you, I already demonstrated you, if you divide, if you minus that point, right, little bit of difference is the answer, 107.76, right? You will get answer different on the fractions. But if the amount is big, okay, if the present value is big, not $100, if the present value is 1 lakhs now, or 10 lakhs rupees, then you will see material differences. So I advise you to not ignore these point amount, okay, whenever you calculate.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now I hope that you can calculate daily present value, daily future value as well. Okay, so amortized loans means loans which are kind of annuity, and which are kind of payments which we do in per monthly basis. You have seen all kind of loans. I hope you have heard about vehicle loan, like mortgage, all kinds of mortgage loans, and automobile loans, student loans, right, business loans, also housing loans, right? So what happens is that there is a concept of per month installment, isn't it? Equal EMI, if I have to be specific. So I'll explain you with this particular example. So let us assume there is a 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5. Okay. So what is the beginning amount? How much amount did you take? So amount borrowed is 1 lakh rupees. Okay. According to the question, you have borrowed 1 lakh rupees amount. Year is 5 years. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So you have borrowed. What is the present value? Present value is 1 lakh. Okay. So what is the rate? 6% interest you have to pay. right? And per month payment is 23,700, and this amount is calculated by banks, and this amount you can find out PMT, right? We have already discussed how to find PMT, isn't it? Okay. So we have already discussed about the PMT. Number of period is 5 and amount per present value is -1. This is the total payment, 66. Here is 0.06, right? Okay, you can find PMT through your formula we have already discussed. Formula PMT 0.065, and that way you have got that per month installment of 23,739. Now, what does it mean? You mean that you are going to pay 23,000. If you pay 23,000, okay, sorry. If you pay 23,739 in each period, 23,739. If you keep on paying here 4 times, then after you pay fifth installment, the balance is going to be 0. Okay, that is how loan period, loan amount works. Whether it be vehicle loan, whether it be housing loan, any kind of loans, right? So if you pay these constant installments, then your loan amount gradually starts to decrease and it will head towards 0, right? Our ultimate aim is reaching to this 0, right? So why am I trying to explain this is that from tomorrow on, please don't get confused whenever you see EMIs of maybe you have taken vehicle loan, or maybe your parents have taken vehicle loan, or anyone or any company, regarding any company, you can find these EMIs and you can understand how the calculation is done. I'll explain you where people are confused so that you will not be confused in the future. Okay, our beginning amount is how much? 1 lakh, right? Simple, 1 lakh rupees. How much is the payment? Now you found this payment by calculating your PMT calculation. We have already discussed that in previous slides. You can, if you have forgotten the concept, you can go back. So 23,000, this is per month installment. So my question to you is whether per month installment changes or not in year 2, year 3, year 4, or is it same? I'm waiting for your answer. Does per month installment changes or is it same?
Same.
It's same, right? Thank you. I cannot see your name to acknowledge you. Okay, so thank you for your answer. So it is same. Like every year we are paying. It's not called per month. It's payment, and it's I'm confused because we usually pay EMI, okay, on monthly basis to vehicles and to housing loans. Okay, so please don't get confused regarding that factor as well. Okay, if you know how, sorry, if you know how to calculate, if you know how to calculate on yearly basis, you can just multiply by 12 and you can find per month installment as well. Let us do this problem first, and then let me know if you are confused. Okay, so payment is same. That is why it's payment, right? PMT, it's per equal installment. Okay, so you copy it. It's same, right? For year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5, it's same. Now please observe that what are the components of that payment? Anyone? That is equal EMI, right? What is the component of payment? Very simple. You might have learned this in +2 as well, and in real life you have also understood about it. What are two components of payment? When we pay amount to the bank, okay, when we pay loan amount back to the bank, what are two different components of that payment? I'm waiting. Anyone? In this section we are stuck a lot of times, please step up. You can be wrong, trying is 80% and being right is 20%, I would say, right? Just try any thought which comes to your mind. So what are the elements of payment? When we pay EMI to bank, like maybe it may be vehicle loan, maybe housing loan, right? There are two different components. And no idea? Okay, so let me move on. Okay, in the payment there are two different elements. Okay, one is principal. It's 10 class concept. One is principal, another is interest, right? This is something bank earns. Please understand this. We might not have seen from that spectacle. This is something interest. Okay, interest is something, or it is the reason why bank is giving you the money. Why? Right? Bank gives you the money to earn interest, right? That is their business. That is their income of profit and loss, their profit and loss, right? Bank's income is interest, isn't it? And this principle is something of paying back. You are trying to pay back bank little by little, right? And you are trying to decrease your loan through this principle. This totally goes into the pocket of this interest, totally goes into the pocket of bank. It is done, right? But this principle is something which gets deducted from your amount to be paid back to the bank. Okay, so likewise, this payment, you have interest and there is principal, right? So out of this payment, how much is the interest? How will you calculate? Can you guess? Our interest rate is 6%. Okay, so you multiply this amount because you have taken in the year one, you have taken loan of, you had a balance of 1 lakh rupees, right? So if you multiply by 6%, you will get your interest. Okay, 6,000. So I already told you payment is equal to principal plus interest, right? And your interest amount is 6,000 rupees. So what would be the principal? Principal will be simply payment minus interest, simply mathematics. The remaining amount is principal, right? So what would be the balance? At the start of the period, right? At the start of the period, you had how much? 1 lakh rupees to be paid back to bank. And at the end of year one, you paid 17,739 back to bank. So what would be the balance? Do we deduct this balance by interest by payment? Is this the balance 76,260?
Yes, sir. One sec.
Are you sure?
Checking.
So what we are doing is that we are deducting beginning amount, okay, beginning amount of loan with payment amount, the whole payment amount, okay. So it is 76,260 the new balance?
No, I think principal discount हुनुपर्छ हैन beginning र principal. So
Correct, right? So we do not deduct this interest, right? This payment includes both interest and principal, right? This is the earning of the bank, so we do not deduct that. This is the amount we are deducting, right? So what do? We just reduce the principal part. Understood?
yeah,
We pay,
82,000.
right? Yeah. So our new balance is 32,260. Okay. And again, how much is the interest? Do we calculate interest in this 1 lakh? Is this the interest in year two?
Wait.
Guys, you have to, yeah.
It will change, I think, because
Okay.
the beginning amount has changed.
Yeah.
So the interest rate should be calculated from the beginning of the second year,
Yeah.
B3, but
Yeah.
say
True.
0.06.
So yeah, we calculate through B3, right? Why? Because we have already paid 17,000 of your money. We can say to the bank, okay, so you have been charging 1 lakh interest of 1 lakh rupees, interest of 6% in 1 lakh rupees in year one, right? You charge 6% in year one, that is fine. But I also paid you back 17,000 rupees from my pocket. So you have to deduce that because I have already paid you back. You have already taken that money back. So new balance would be 82,000. Now in year two, if someone asks how much money you have taken as a loan from bank right now, then you can say that I have taken 82,260 because you have paid your EMI, right? You have paid your one EMI already. So it doesn't make sense to charge 6% in the beginning amount, isn't it? You have already paid 17,000 back. So now the new interest rate would be in the new balance. That would be 82,260. Okay. Now again, what would be the principal? You simply minus payment and interest because 4,900 is charged as interest, isn't it? Now likewise, you can do calculation. New balance is 63,000 and okay.
So
Yeah.
यो फर्स्टको सल्युसनमा आई मिन
Yeah.
1 लाख अब माइनस प्रिन्सिपल गरेको छ नि त
Yeah.
एप्पल बल्ल देखायो पोइन्ट देखाएको थिएन नि त अघि नै त्यही भएर फेरि
Okay. Please consider two decimal points if you are confused regarding point. At least consider two decimal points. Okay.
हजुर अघि नै देखाएको थिएन अनि त्यहाँ लाइक भ्याल्यु नै नहुने
Yeah.
हो कि भनेर कन्फ्युज भयो कि
Okay. Okay. So see, at the end, always in ISMA, in this concept, we always get zero amount at the end because what is our target? Our target is to pay back loan, right? So what we do? We took loan of 1 lakh rupees and we paid equal monthly installment within a period of 5 years. Okay, and we paid it back at zero. So what is the revenue of the bank? Can anyone tell? How much bank earned out of this transaction with us? How much did the bank earn? Is this the amount bank earned? 18,698.20 rupees.
या इन्ट्रेस्ट चाहिँ दे
Yeah. Yeah, this is the part where why bank is doing the business with you, right? It is the income of bank, expenditure of loan taker, isn't it? So bank earned 18,698 rupees out of this transaction, out of loaning us 1 lakh rupees. Okay. I hope you understood EMI, concept of EMI. Okay. Any confusion in this? It is all the concepts which we are learning in this chapter, they are very practical. It's very important. You can go back and see the loan statements of your family members who have taken loans. You can do that. I hope there are no confusions. We are, it's already 8:11, right? So we have to move on with the questions. Okay, so we have come to an end of this slide. Okay. 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 Okay, let us solve few of the practical questions. This was the concept which I explained to you regarding difference between simple interest and compound interest. Again, I'd like to reiterate it. You can see that the graph of compound increases. Like I give you an example of buffalo and calf. As calf gets bigger, now it grows exponentially, isn't it? So after a certain period and certain amount of money, it grows exponentially. Simple interest increases in linear form. Okay, these are formulas. So let us solve few questions. Okay, few practical questions which you might also face in your practical life. Okay. Elon parents would like to have $150,000 when they retire in 9 years. How much should they invest today at an interest rate of 6% compounded annually? Now, these questions we are solving to understand English language, okay? I mean to say that to understand how to find those factors, those 5 metrics. We have how many metrics? Five different factors, right? Right? I, right? PV, FV, and PMT, right? Now, among these 5 factors, we just fill in whatever is given in the question, and then we try to solve it. Okay, so question might want to like tweak you, make it complicated to you, but please understand, it is really simple now. You might, I hope that you can solve these questions. Okay, let us move on. So Elon parents would like to have. What does like to have mean? It is in future tense, right? Like to have means it's in future tense. And as simple, you can understand that it's a future value, right? Future value is 1,50,000. When they retire in 9 years. Now, question has stated that they will retire in after 9 years, right? Till now, it's 9 years of compounding. Till now, if question has not given anything. So how much should they invest today? How much should they invest today at present, currently, right? If these questions are given, then that is present value. Okay, please understand that. So present value is what? Question has asked present value at an interest rate. Our interest rate is given I is given 6% per annum. Now at the end it has written compounded annually. What if question was silent? What would you do if this was not there? So what would you do? Anyone? Alan parents would like to have. Yes.
Annually नै गर्थ्यो नि हैन?
Yeah, you do annually. If question is silent, always consider rate, year, or number, or compounding everything as annual. Okay. So since question has written, stated right, compounded annually, so we do it. We annual compounding. So I hope there is no any issue in this. But what I would like to show you is that you just get this in calculator. Okay. Now you can make timeline. Okay, let me show timeline. To solve question, you're asking like how. Okay. Always make timeline. Okay. So how many years was there?
9 years.
9 years, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like this, please always try to create timeline first. Okay, solution. Okay, as you were asking. So what you can do is you can write like this timeline. Okay, future value means future value is here 1,50,000. Okay, present value is equal to what? Okay, question is asking you this. Rate is 6%. You can write rate in one column and it follows for all the periods. Time is 9 period. So this is timeline. And then what you can do down, Now using formula, what is the formula? Present value is equal to future value 1 plus I to the power minus n, right? And you can find answer. Is it clear? So there is another way to find answer as well. Okay, let me show you another way. That day I was trying to demonstrate you present value table, right? Present value PVA table, which I'm going to show you. So likewise, you can calculate in calculator, or what you can do, you can simply do the present value, then you can apply rate, right? And then find it. Present value, rate is 0.6, compounding period is 9. What is the, are there any installments in between present value and future value? There are no any installments, so 0. And then future value, what is FV? You can see that this tag dot. Now it is asking what is FV. Future value was 1,50,000, right? And if you hit enter, you get an answer of minus 88,784. You have to invest that outflow somewhere, right, to get amount of 150. Simple, right? So let me show you annuity table. Okay, this is annuity table. That day I was trying to demonstrate you. So it is very simple, you know, it is even simple. It's very simple. Okay, so our annuity, you have to find, first of all, you have to understand which table to use, okay? There are 4 types of table for future value and present value. Present value of normal present value, future value normal, present value annuity, future value annuity. So is this the case of annuity? No, right? It is not the case of annuity. It is the case of ordinary case, right? So you can see here, I will share these table as well to you later on. Here it is written future value interest factor for single cash flow. So it is single cash flow, right? Our question is. So it is not future value. Ours has asked present value, isn't it? So next is future. If you scroll down, present value, you can see present value interest factor for an annuity. Okay, for annuity. So our question is present value of normal. So this table is not used for us right now. So next is present value interest factor for single cash flow. So this is where we can find our answer, isn't it? So how many years was there? How many years was there in the question?
9.
Sorry, 9, right? So you just go towards 9. Yeah. Okay. So what was the interest rate?
6%.
6%. So it's a child play. Please go down here. Sorry. Right. So you can see 0.5919, right? So you can see in the table where 6% in the column and 9 years in the row intersect at the value of 0.5919. So that is our factor. That is our present value factor, PVAF, right? That is a factor for that particular period. So how can we apply that? 0.5919. 0.5919, isn't it? This is our factor, PVA factor, A factor. So what you do? You'll simply multiply future value with present value, then you'll find the answer. Simple.
Yes, sir.
This is the simplest one, so I holded it for the last session. Otherwise, you would not even want to use calculator or formula. It is very simple one. So I'll show you again. I'll show you the instance of another as well. Okay, so let's move on to another question. So if a question had asked you about what would be the present value of 1 lakh rupees if it is discounted, after 15 years at the rate of 10%. So then what would you do? You would see period of 15 and then rate of 10%, right? So this would be your value, 0.2394, isn't it? Please observe present value is always in 0 point because it has to reduce the value, and future value is always in, see, future value is always in 1 point something, right? So because future value is always greater than present value, right? So you can observe that as well. Another observation, what you can observe from this. So what if we are given that what would be the future value? What would be the future value of $1 lakh if discounted after 5 years? If discounted, if compounded semi-annually, what would be? Where would we look? Future value, right? I told you future value.
Sir, can you repeat the question?
Okay, let me write it here. Okay, our future value is okay. Our future value is, for example, our future. Wait. Our future value is 1 lakh. Okay, time is given 5 years. 5 years. Rate 10%. Okay, let me give 15%. So what would be present value if compounded semi-annually? Okay. So where should we look in the table? This is the question. Okay. So this is the question. Okay, on the left, present value. Screen. Okay, so we are given future value 1 lakh, time is 5 years, rate is 15%, and then what would be present value if compounded semi-annually? It has written semi-annually. So where would you look in the table? It is very important. This is the only time when you might get confused. Rather than this, you can solve it.
10 and then 15% compounded 2 times, right? So
Yeah. So you mean to say we will look n n as 10, right? And rate, how much rate will you look?
7.5.
Yeah. Are you confused in that yet? You have to see rate 7.5%, not in 15%. Okay.
Yeah. Now I get it.
You get it, right? So
Um,
move on to questions. Okay, quickly. Now we'll do these questions quickly. I'll tell you where you might get confused. Rather than that, please observe it. Okay. Selena wants
so
to give her mother. Yes.
you disconnected for a while, so we didn't understand what you said. अनि 7.5 हुँदाखेरि के काउन्ट गर्ने त भन्ने चाहिँ अलिकति कन्फ्युजन नै छ.
Okay, so यस्तो टेबलमा छैन हैन 7.5.
हजुर.
मेन कन्सेप्ट वाट यु ह्याड टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड भनेको चाहिँ वी विल नट सिक फर इयर अर इन्ट्रेस्ट के क्वेसनमा इयर र इन्ट्रेस्ट भन्यो भने we would seek for compounding interest, compounding period के we will always seek for that in the table पनि के टेबलमा हामी we might get confused, so I asked you that question. Okay, so टेबलमा 7.5% छैन, so that is limitation of table. You cannot find answer of 7.5%. Maybe there are table available in the market of 7.5%, that whole number as well. I'll try to look for it. If it is present, then I'll show you. But if it is not present, you have to solve it by formula method or calculator method or other methods. Okay.
Yeah, sure, sir.
So let us move on to question 2. Selena wants to give her mother 8,000. Wants to give, that is future, right? So future value is 8,000. Is it clear? To help her cover medical expenditure for eye operation. How much should she invest today? Today means present value of interest rate of 4.5%, compounded monthly. Please notice we have already given compounded monthly. Now it changes it changes the compounding period, it changes I, it changes N. To give her the money in 24 months, right? We have not been given years, right? If it would have been, if question had given 2 years, right, in the question, if we had 2 years, what would we do? We would convert 2 years into month. 2 into, we would have done 12 and divided it by 12. But question has already said to give her money in 24 months. Question has given us number of period in months, so we just write 24. Understood? Now period is in month, rate is in month. Now what do we find? Present value. So apply the formula, you can find it. Okay. In this question, you observe interest rate was given annually and it told us to compound monthly. Month was already given, time was given monthly. So that was it. Okay. So next one, at the end of 5 years, after being charged 3% per year, compounded monthly. Please notice compounded monthly. Ricky had to pay means in the future. So future value is 10,135.11. How much did Ricky originally borrow? How much did he borrow? Means present value, isn't it? So we are given a rate of 5 compounded monthly. So we multiply by 12. We divide the interest by 3 by 12, right? See, we divide the interest rate by 12 and we multiplied year by 12. Simple, right? So let's move on to another one. Okay. Michael borrows 9,000 from a financial institution for the purchase of a used car. Okay. Borrows means in present tense, right? Bob 1, Bob 5, you have to notice that as well. The terms of loan require Michael to pay interest at 4% interest rate, right? Rate is 4%. Okay. Compounded semi-annually. Now it has given semi-annually. What would you do? Divide by 2, right? Simple. And repay the total amount at the end of 2 years. Now we convert year also in compounding period. So we multiply year by 2. How much does Michael need to repay at the end of 2 years? So how much does he need means in the future. So it is asking us future value. Simple. Okay. Let's move on. When Alisa was 5 years old, her parent her parent invested 12,000 for her in a plan that earned 6% interest rate, 0.06, and compounded semi-annually. We convert it into semi-annual. How much will the interest be worth when Alina is 12 years old? Now, what is tricky in this question? Hmm? Hi everyone, I'm afraid that I was disconnected.
Just yes, you were disconnected.
Okay, we have not done roll call yet, right?
Yeah, we have not.
Okay, before that, let me tell you, I've shared you 10 different questions. I'll share you Excel file today itself. So please, you go through it, and we have completed time value of money. I'll give you home assignments of time value of money in next class, okay? Tomorrow's class. So let me quickly do your roll call, okay? Okay, all Alex. Okay, Archana,
Present, sir.
Ashish, Ashish Parazili. Do we have Ashish? I think Ashish is not there. Absent. Deepesh Dulal. Present. Evan Sreshta.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Jeju Rai. We have Jeju. No, I guess. Marina Sreshta. Marina Sreshta. Yes. Ninju Thapa.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nishan Sreshta. Nishan. No Nishan in the class. Ojasvi Saha. Ojasvi. Okay. Then Prakriti Banjade.
Present, sir.
Okay. Next Prasamsa Silwal. Okay. Praveen Khatri. Praveen. Okay. Raman Sreshta. Okay. Ratna Prabha Taman.
Present, sir.
Okay. Revision Maharjan. Yes. Ritesh Kumar. Yes. Rivas Prasad Junje.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ronim Rana Mogar. Ronim. We don't have Ronim. Satyam Sreshta. Okay. Solina Gising Taman. Solina. Do we have Solina? I don't think she's here. Sarisma Silval. Do we have Sarisma? I don't think Sarisma is here. Sarisma? No. Shekhar Paudel?
Present, sir.
Okay. Smith Sakya?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Swarup Daugada? Swarup?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Unes Giri?
Present, sir.
Okay. So I'll call the name of absentees quickly, okay? One, Ashish Parazuli, Jeju Rai, Nishan Sreshta, Ronim Rana Mogar, Salina Gising Tamang, Sarisma Silval. Okay. Okay, guys, thank you so much. So see you tomorrow with new chapter of capital budgeting. Okay, bye bye. Have a nice day.
Good morning, everybody. I think your friends are still in the process of joining, so let's wait for a while and then we can start. Okay, so let's start with the attendance. It's already 50. Alex,
Yes, ma'am.
Archana,
Present, ma'am.
Asish, Even,
Yes, ma'am.
Nikhil.
Ma'am, Dipesh.
Okay, Dipesh is here, right? Even,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Jeju, Marina, Ninju,
Yes, ma'am.
Nishan, Ojaswi, Prakriti, Prakriti, Prasamsha,
Yes, ma'am.
Praveen, Praveen, Raman, Ratna, Rebison,
Present, ma'am.
Ritiz, Rivaz, Ronim, Sacham, Salina, Sarishma, Shekhar, Smith, Swaroop,
Yes, ma'am.
Yunesh,
Present, ma'am.
Anybody who missed the attendance?
Ma'am, Praveen Khatri.
Praveen.
Ma'am, Shekhar Paudel.
Praveen and Shekhar. Anybody else? Okay. So yesterday, yes, Marina, do you have anything to say?
Ma'am, the attendance is done.
Yes, Ratna. Okay. All right. So yesterday we were discussing things regarding business writing, right? So what we discussed yesterday was accentuating the positive, how to bring positivity in our writing. And further, we discussed on the writing approaches, right? So what we'll be doing today is we'll be having a class regarding the synopsis of business writing, and you'll be receiving your third assignment today, okay, for learning objective 2. Now let me share this first. Give me a minute.
Ma'am,
Yes,
I'm present.
can you name yourself, please?
Prakriti.
Okay, Prakriti.
Ma'am,
Right,
त्यो
where?
स्मिथको पनि त्यो
Yes,
माइकै काम गरेको छैन अरे म्याम, माइक्रोफोनै।
Smith. Okay,
अनि सक्सिमको पनि, सक्सिम र
Saksham. Anybody
Shekhar,
else?
when he present here, he joined.
All right.
म्याम युनिस पनि।
Right. Is that it? Anybody else left?
Ma'am, Smith.
Smith, I've already marked your presence.
Smith Saksham.
That's it, right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Shekhar.
you.
Yes, Shekhar, yours is also done. Yes, Smith, do you have anything more to say? Okay, so let's begin our class today, business writing synopsis. So in the past 3 classes, we had discussed regarding business writing. So what was business writing? Why was it important? Right? So business writing, it was basically because when we write something regarding our business or anything, letters or emails, that remains for a longer period of time than we had spoken. When we speak something, when we communicate with someone verbally, people tend to forget it easily, quickly, right? But when we write something, when people have a piece of writing in the form of communication, they have it as a record and they can look at it whenever they want to. So that piece of writing, business writing, will remain for a longer period of time, right? So
here. First, we had discussed on types of business writings. So there were basically 4 types: instructional, informational, persuasive, and transactional, right? 4 types of business writings we had discussed. Under instructional, we had user manuals, memos, technical specifications. So these were kinds of business writings. They gave us informations regarding instructions, right? So they told us what to do, they told us what not to do, they gave us steps and processes how to complete a particular task or do something or use a particular object or a machine, right? So in instructional business writing, there were instructions which gave people, clients, or your audience, your readers, you gave them instructions and then your readers followed the given instructions, right? And some of the examples were, we gave examples of electronics, TV, there were refrigerators, and then regarding technical specifications, there were examples of mobile phones. When we go to buy a mobile phone, what do we look at first? We look at the specifications of the mobile phone. We don't look at the color or the size of the phone. Instead, we look at the battery life, we look at the storage. So these things were instructional, right? And regarding memos, memos were a bit different. They did not give instructions regarding any object or product or any machine, but they gave instructions like notices. They told people, they told the employees or staff what to do, right? They gave instructions in the office, in the company. The second one was informational. Under informational, we had reports, financials, and minutes. So informational business writings, they were basically inside of the organization, right? And then they gave particular information regarding as reports, for example, taking reports. Reports gave us information regarding what a particular employee did for the entire day. What were the activities conducted maybe? What are the following activities for the next day? So these kinds of information were there. And regarding reports, we went through various kinds of reports too. We'll be coming to that later again. And for financials, they gave us financial detailing of any company. And regarding minutes, minutes gave us information such as documenting a meeting, writing all the information regarding what happened in a meeting, right? And we also discussed in minutes that whenever there is a minuting in any meeting, all the details of those whoever are present there in the meeting, they are collected, right? Now the third one in business writing is persuasive business writing. Under that we had discussed proposals, sales letters, and press releases. So these all were persuasive. They were trying to persuade the reader, or they were trying to convince the reader, maybe to strike a deal with them or to agree with them in whatever they said, right? Or in sales letters tried to persuade the reader and sell their product. So in persuasive business writing, the writer is trying to convince you anyhow, right? And the fourth one is transactional. In transactional, there were transactions happening, an interaction or exchange between two people or more than two people. And also, transactionals were related to buying and selling of products, right? The first thing, like we had discussed, were emails regarding transactional. In emails, there is an interaction between two people, or let's say it might be more than two people too. So there was an exchange of information, right? So in transactional, the information or the message, the data, they are transacted. And for forms also it's the same. We give information and get information, right? And for invoices and receipts, they were related to buying and selling, right? When we bought something or when a business company sold something, they give receipts so that both the buyer and the seller, they know when was this product sold or when was this product bought, where was it bought from, on which date, which time, who sold it, who was the salesperson. So all these details are there. So these were the 4 types of business writing we had discussed, right? Let's move on. Now, for things to consider, we had discussed what are the things we need to consider while we are writing something. We can't just write anything and everything casually in business. When you are a business person, when you have a huge company to look after, you have to take care of your words also. You can't write informal words or in a casual way. So these were the few things we had discussed. So who is your audience? So every business writing varies from individual to individual, from reader to reader, right? So first thing is we needed to consider who is our audience then. We need to write based on our audience. Now, if you are writing to the president, you have to maintain that level of formality. And if you are writing to a layman or normal person, you can write in medium formal way, right? And if you are writing to the manager, you might again have to maintain a certain etiquette, certain hierarchy. But if you are writing to a junior, someone who works under you, you can give instructions, right? So your audience matters, and whom you are writing to, your reader, you need to write it accordingly, right? The next one we discussed was use familiar or plain words. Use words that everybody can understand all at once. They don't have to think that what does this mean? I don't know the meaning of this word. Don't make people confused. Because if we put some very difficult or very fancy word and your reader might not understand that word, your business writing will go in a waste, or maybe your deal won't be done. So your audience must always understand what you're writing. And for that, we need to use very familiar words, simple words, right? The third one there is do not use slang language. Slang languages should not be used in business writing because we need to maintain the formality. When slang languages are used just like bro or dude, hi dude, how are you? When should we fix the meeting? That's very, very informal, very rough, right? So in business writing, you're not supposed to use that. But if you're talking in a personal level, you can talk like that. You're always free to talk like that. But while you're in business, never do that, right? The next one is use concrete language and do not use abstract language. That means give exact words, exact details. Just like don't say, I will deliver some computers. Some means how much? Some maybe it might be 10, some might be 100, some might be 1,000. We never know. So give exact figures. Just like I'll deliver 20 computers tomorrow or I'll deliver 200 computers tomorrow. So give exact figures in business writing, right? The next one is active verbs over passive verbs. So we discussed that under active and passive verbs, it depends on where you need to use active verbs and where you'll need to use passive verbs, right? So basically, like most of the time, for instructional business writing, we use passive voice, passive verb, and for persuasive type of business writing, we use active verbs, right? The next one here is use non-discriminatory language. Non-discriminatory language was discriminating on race, sexuality, nationality, religion, or maybe age, and avoid stereotypes. Means we assume previously, right? So stereotypes can also be we assume a person if a person has to use a wheelchair, okay, he is differently abled. We just assume that that person cannot do anything maybe. but we should never stereotype. He might be the CEO of a very large company. So we must always think before we speak and before we write something. And regarding non-discriminatory language, we must always consider what type of writing are you writing? Will your writing offend somebody? Will somebody be hurt if they read your writing? See, just like I think for sexuality, we had given this example like females must not work, females must stay at home. So that is discriminating sexuality and that is stereotyping, right? And then there were other things we had discussed, there were examples, and we need to use proper words for proper people. Just like we say policeman nowadays. The word was used maybe decades back, but there are women too in police today. So instead of saying policeman to everyone, we must say police officer, right? For businessman, person. So we had discussed those things. And the last point here is use short sentences. So when your sentence is long, it gets complicated. And when it gets complicated, your reader will have a difficult time to understand that. So to avoid it, we are supposed to use short and crisp sentences with all the information which are required, giving all the details too, right? So these were the few things we needed to consider in business writing. Now the next one here is process of writing. So do you remember this figure? We had discussed this, the writing process. So business writing, it has to follow a certain process. We can't just directly go to the final writing, right? We have to follow something so that we can make our writing, the final piece, the perfect piece. So here, as you can see in this figure, in number 1, we have pre-writing. After that, planning and outlining. After that, you have write a first draft, then revise and redraft. Then you have edit and proofreading. So the first one, pre-writing, was just planning. Pre-writing is before writing, what do you need to do then? What are the things you need to consider before you write something, before you prepare your business writing? And regarding planning and outlining too, we had considered number 1 and 2, pre-writing and planning and outlining under 1, right? So here we had planned what to write. How should we get the content? How should we collect all the data and information, whatever we need to write? How will we write? How will we structure our writing? Which format will we keep our writing in? Will we just divide our writing into points, or will we clutter it into one single paragraph? Will we keep pictures or not? Will we give figures or not? So all these things come under pre-writing, planning, and outlining, right? The next one was drafting, writing a draft, right? So writing a draft means that in the first draft, all we have to do is write down all the idea we can collect regarding whatever we are about to write, regarding our topic, right? So whatever information you find, you just write and write. Whatever ideas that comes to your mind, you just write it down without thinking of the format, without thinking of the structure, right? So we do that. After that, we go to revising and redrafting. So under redrafting, we had discussed that there are many drafts, multiple drafts indeed, right? So there's not only one draft. If there's only one draft, your writing will not be good. But at sometimes, okay, sometimes one draft might also work according to the writing, according to your content and information. But many times, most of the time, redrafting is very, very important because you might have to add some information, you might have to remove some information, you might have to structure your writing, keep it into a particular format, or sometimes you might not like that format, then again change the format. You might want to add some pictures, You might want to change the colors of your writing, right? So those all are done under redrafting. And the more drafts you have, the better your writing will get, right? So after that, after we've finished structuring and finished the layout, finished the writing, we do a proofreading. So in editing and proofreading, that's for correction. We go through the entire writing. We go through whatever we have prepared and try to search if it needs any more corrections. So what I had told you is it's always better to ask somebody else to read it once before you publish it somewhere or before you send it to somebody. Now maybe you can ask your colleagues to read it once, to proofread it once, or if you are at home, if you're working from home, you can ask your parents or your siblings, your friends to read it once, right? So that when somebody else reads it, they can quickly find the mistake. When we read it again and again, we might not find the mistake because we will have been working on the same piece for a long time, and our mind can unconsciously ignore that mistake. So that is why it's always good to ask somebody to help you with your proofreading, right? So this was regarding the process of writing. Now let's move on. Now we had gone to message types. So there were 4 types we discussed: letters, emails, memos, and reports. And we had gone to the formats of all these things, right? So let's move to letters first. Now this is the format. This is the general format, but I had mentioned that there might be other formats too. And it's always not necessary that you use one particular format. Formats keep on changing. You can update it at times, right? But this one is a general format here. So there is the heading, the date. Date is very important. You must always mention it so that the reader and you as the writer, both of you will know when the letter was written, when the information was given, right? Then after leaving a line, recipient's address, your reader's address, who are you sending the letter to? So you write that, right? I had given you this example of if you're writing a letter to ACE. So you write ACE International Business School, Sinamangal, Kathmandu, Nepal, in 3 different lines. So that is your recipient's address. You're sending it to the college, right? After that, you again leave one line and go to the subject. So subject was a one-liner which describes the body part of your letter. What are you going to say in the body section, right? So you write that in subject, and subject are no more than 2 lines. The maximum you can go is 2 lines, right? So subject must be crisp and short. And after that, we go to salutations. The salutations are, you are referring to who you are writing. It's like respected principal or respected sir, dear ma'am. So who are you writing to? And we had discussed regarding salutations. If you know that person's name, you write accordingly. If you know that person's post, you write the post, dear manager or dear CEO, right? So like this. After that, we had gone to the body part, right? There are 3 to 4 paragraphs in the body part. We'll be coming to that later on in direct and indirect writing. After body, we had a closing and there was signature. And if required, there were end notations. It's like enclosures. I have enclosed this and this file with this letter and things like that, right? Now the next one, this is email. So we had discussed emails were similar to letters but simpler, right? So now in email, your sender, your receiver, and the subject, they're already there. You just have to fill the gaps, right? And the body part, the salutation, the closure, everything else is similar to letters, right? But here, what more advantage you can get in emails are, you can attach files, videos, images, you can attach links to, right? So these things were there in email. Now here, the next one is memo. So memos were like notices. We had discussed memos previously too. So memos are very short notices or short instructions, circulars that are sent to all the employees or all the staff in the office so that they know what to do. They know the notice. And memos are very short. Short doesn't mean that it has to be 2 or 3 lines. It's short, but it depends on the information too, right? And just like in emails, the person you are sending to, the person who is sending, the subject, the date, they're already there. You just have to fill in, right? Now the next one were reports. So these are the general format of the report. Okay, we had discussed a detailed format too, where we divided the entire report into 3 sections, right? The preliminary section, the body section, and the supplementary section. But here, this is just the general format, all right? So there is the title page, the executive summary, the table of contents, introduction, the finding, discussion, conclusion, recommendations, if you need it. There are references and there are appendixes, again, if needed, if required, right? So this was only the general format. You can follow this, but if you are supposed to write the report in detail, you are supposed to follow the other one, which is divided into 3 sections, right? Okay. Now, these were the some types of reports we had discussed: business report, formal, informal, financial, research, directors, investigations, and there were more, right? But what happens in reports are reports, and the titles of the reports, the formatting, structures, table of contents of the reports, they vary from report to report because every report is different. Every report has different information, different data, right? Different types of structure. So that is why reports also differ in formatting. So there is not exactly one particular format that you have to follow for a report. You don't have to, there is no hard and fast rule that this is the format. You have to first write the table of content, then go to introduction, finding, result. There must be recommendations. Sometimes you might not have recommendations. So it's okay if you don't write recommendations too, if you don't have. Sometimes you might have more things. You might have to elongate the report according to the information you have. You might have much information. You might have to divide maybe the finding part into various sections. So whatever information you are supposed to give in the report, it depends accordingly, right? Now let's move on. Now the next thing we discussed, that was in yesterday's class, that is we discussed on accentuating the positive, things to pay attention to while we are writing, that is especially on positivity, right? So there were basically 4 points: building goodwill in writing, accentuating the positive, positivity checklist, and be courteous. So the first thing is building goodwill in writing. So what is goodwill? Goodwill is making your reader, or let's say the relation between you and the reader, what is it like? Is it formal? Is it informal? Do you agree to whatever the reader says? Do you do you talk to the reader using the first pronoun, or do you use the second pronoun? What do you use? So building goodwill is based on that. And under that, we had discussed on formality, the level of formality according to readers. If that particular reader is very much familiar to you, you can just write in a semi-formal way. But if that reader is a very new reader to you, new reader to your company, then you must write in a very formal manner. You must maintain all the formality, right? Then we had the other thing known as rubber stamp phrases. Please note this very carefully, okay? Rubber stamp phrases, they were like let's say, decisions that were approved without even thinking. But we must not do these rubber stamp phrases. We must avoid rubber stamp phrases, right? We must think before we take any decisions in business. Just let's say, just telling that he or she is your client, he or she is a very, very important client to your company, you can't say okay, you can't agree to anything that person says. You must always think first. What will the consequences be? What will the result be? Will you face any problem? So you must always think that before agreeing to anything, right? Now the second one was accentuating the positive, converting negative sentences into positive sentences, right? Just like we had this example of the car. Your car won't be fixed until next week. So what this sentence did was, it aroused a negative feeling, a bad mood in the reader. Your car won't be fixed until next week. It makes people sad when you say that something won't be fixed. You can't get your car until next week. So it doesn't make the people happy, right? So instead, you can change the same sentence. The information, the message from the sentence will be the same. You will just change the words, and that will be, you can use your car next week, means you can use. It arouses a positive feeling at this time. And positivity checklist, the third point here on the screen, this is kind of similar to the second point, because positivity checklist tells us to tell what we can do instead of what we can't do. So when you say, like, I can't support, let's say, I can't submit the report by tomorrow. So what the reader is understanding is, you can't do something. So he will think that, he will assume, oh, this person can't do anything. Let's not say anything to this person, or let's not deal with this company anymore, because of the word can't. But if you say, I can do it till tomorrow, or I can do it by tomorrow, the reader will understand and assume that, oh, this person can do something. See, this person can do it till tomorrow. So they will have that kind of mentality, that kind of concept towards you, right? So always say what you can do instead of saying what you can't do. The other one was be courteous. So do not blame the reader for anything. Maybe like sometimes the readers, your clients, your audiences, while dealing with you and your company, they make mistakes. They do certain things which you don't want them to do. But still, you are not supposed to blame them, because that will again bring a gap between you and the reader, between you and the audience, your clients. So never blame your reader. Instead, change the words, how you tell them to do things, right? So that was regarding issues we needed to pay attention to. Now the next one, writing approaches. So there were two writing approaches, direct and indirect writing, right? So under direct writing approach, we had good news, and under indirect writing approach, we had bad news. So for direct writing, it was used for positive kind of letters, neutral kind of information, right? And the information in direct plan of writing, they could be dealt immediately. Whenever people read the direct kind of writing, they did not feel any kind of shock. They were okay, they were casual or happy while they read the letter, right? And the message in direct writing, they are stated directly in the very first line maybe. You can see there 3 paragraphs in direct letter, main idea, explanation, and appropriate friendly close. So in direct writing, the message, whichever good news or good information we have, we directly write it in the first line itself, right? And after that, we go on to the explanation, we give reasons, we say this and that, and after that, we have a friendly close, because friendly close, appropriate closing is very important in letters, okay? But on the other hand, there was indirect writing. Here, indirect writing was opposite to direct writing, and indirect writing gave negative news, bad news or bad information, just like someone got rejected from their job, someone got a demotion, a persuasive or sales letter which doesn't make audience happy. So these are indirect plan of writing, negative news, right? So here we cannot give the information directly. So that is why we divide this indirect plan of writing into 4 paragraphs. In the first one, we open with a buffer. We give the scenario. We try to explain the environment, the situation. Then the second paragraph, we go to the explanation. We give reasonings. We explain the situation. Then in the third paragraph, we give the information, because by the first and the second paragraph, the reader will already know that you're about to say something bad. So that reader will be prepared and won't go into a shock or won't have any kind of negative impact. All right. And after, in the third paragraph, you give the bad news, you go to the alternative, you give kind of solutions. So this bad thing happened, but here are the solutions. So you say that, and then you also give an appropriate friendly close, right? You close the letter in a good way. You don't just close it all of a sudden, abruptly, right? So these were the things regarding direct and indirect writings too. So now tell me, do you have any questions regarding these? We just summed up everything. So any questions here? Okay.
No,
So
ma'am.
okay, that's great, Shekhar. So now business writing is not only writing, okay? We need to think first. We need to communicate. We need to think about the relation we have with our clients and all the things for us to do this business writing, right? So I want you to watch a short 2 minutes video. Now let me share this, okay? Just give me a minute. Okay, is this visible?
Yes, ma'am.
It is, right? This is very short, okay? Like this is 10 minutes, but we'll only watch a few minutes, all right? So let's watch this. Okay.
This room may appear to be holding 600 people, but there's actually so many more, because within each one of us, there's a multitude of personalities. I have 2 primary personalities that have been in conflict and conversation within me since I was a little girl. I call them the mystic and the warrior. I was born into a family of politically active, intellectual atheists. There was this equation.
Is it audible to everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
It is, right? So now listen
Yes.
carefully to what she's saying, all right? This is not a business writing. She's not writing something, but she's trying to explain us about the different relations she has with people, how she builds up good relation so that it helps her later on in business writing. Okay, so let's watch.
In my family, it went something like this. If you are intelligent, you therefore are not spiritual. I was the freak of the family. I was this weird little kid who wanted to have deep talks about the worlds that might exist beyond the ones that we perceive with our senses. I wanted to know if what we human beings see and hear and think is a full and accurate picture of reality. So, looking for answers, I went to Catholic Mass. I tagged along with my neighbors. I read Sartre and Socrates, and then a wonderful thing happened when I was in high school. Gurus from the east started washing up on the shores of America. And I said to myself, I want to get me one of them. And ever since, I've been walking the mystic path, trying to peer beyond what Albert Einstein called the optical delusion of everyday consciousness. So what did he mean by this? I'll show you. Take a breath right now of this clear air in this room. Now, see this strange underwater coral reef looking thing? It's actually a person's trachea. And those colored globs are microbes that are actually swimming around in this room right now, all around us. If we're blind to this simple biology, imagine what we're missing at the smallest subatomic level right now, and at the grandest cosmic levels. My years as a mystic have made me question almost all my assumptions. They've made me a proud, I don't know it all. Now, when the mystic part of me jabbers on and on like this, the warrior rolls her eyes. She's concerned about what's happening in this world right now. She's worried. She says, excuse me, I'm pissed off and I know a few things and we better get busy about them right now. I've spent my life as a warrior, working for women's issues, working on political campaigns, being an activist for the environment. And it can be sort of crazy making, housing both the mystic and the warrior in one body. I've always been attracted to those rare people who pull that off, who devote their lives to humanity with the grit of the warrior and the grace of the mystic. People like Martin Luther King Jr., who wrote, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. This, he wrote, is the interrelated structure of reality. Then Mother Teresa, another mystic warrior, who said, the problem with the world is that we draw the circle of our family too small. And Nelson Mandela, who lives by the African concept of...
Okay, let's stop there. Okay, now what I want you to do is later on go and watch this full video, right? Because I'll be showing you something else now. So listen to how they are speaking, the words they use, the words they have placed, how they are playing with words to deliver and to communicate with their audience. And it's the same thing if you say it verbally or if you write it. It's just the use of words, how we use it and how we try to tell to our audience or tell to our clients, right? So let's look at this.
Hi, I'm here to talk to you about the importance of praise, admiration, and thank you, and having it be specific and genuine. And the way I got interested in this was I noticed in myself when I was growing up until about a few years ago that I would want to say thank you to someone. I would want to praise them. I'd want to take in their praise of me, and I just stop it. And I asked myself why. I felt shy, I felt embarrassed. And then my question became, am I the only one who does this? So I decided to investigate. I'm fortunate enough to work in the rehab facility, so I get to see people who are facing life and death with addiction. And sometimes it comes down to something as simple as their core wound is their father died without ever saying he was proud of them. But then they hear from all the family and friends that the father told everybody else that he was proud of him, but he never told the son. It's because he didn't know that his son needed to hear it. So my question is, why don't we ask for the things that we need? I know a gentleman married for 25 years who's longing to hear his wife say, thank you for being the breadwinner so I could stay home with the kids, but won't ask. I know a woman who's good at this. She once a week meets with her husband and says, I would like you to thank me for all these things I did in the house and with the kids. And he goes, oh, this is great, this is great. And praise really does have to be genuine, but she takes responsibility for that. And a friend of mine, April, who I've had since kindergarten, she thanks her children for doing their chores. And she said, why wouldn't I thank it, even though they're supposed to do it? So the question is, why was I blocking it? Why were other people blocking it? Why can I say I'll take my steak medium rare, I need size 6 shoes, but I won't say, would you praise me this way? And it's because I'm giving you critical data about me. I'm telling you where I'm insecure. I'm telling you where I need your help. And I'm treating you, my inner circle, like you're the enemy. Because what can you do with that data? You could neglect me, you could abuse it, or you could actually meet my need. And I took my bike into the bike store. I love this. Same bike, and they do something called truing the wheels. The guy said, you know, when you true the wheels, it's going to make the bike so much better. I get the same bike back, and they've taken all the little warps out of those same wheels I've had for 2.5 years, and my bike is like new. So I'm going to challenge all of you. I want you to true your wheels. Be honest about the praise that you need to hear. What do you need to hear? Go home to your wife. Go ask her, what does she need? Go home to your husband, what does he need? Go home and ask those questions and then help the people around you. And it's simple. Why should we care about this? We talk about world peace. How can we have world peace with different cultures, different languages? I think it starts household by household, under the same roof. So let's make it right in our own backyard. And I wanted to thank all of you in the audience for being great husbands, great mothers, friends, daughters, sons. And maybe somebody's never said that to you, but you've done a really, really good job. And thank you for being here and just showing up and changing the world with your ideas. Thank you.
So what was she saying there? She was trying to praise everybody, and she was trying to teach everybody to praise each other. And it is really important in our business writing, because when we praise somebody, and do you remember in your very first class, I taught you something. I taught you 3 magic words: please, sorry, and thank you. So when you use this in your business writing, it's going to help. See? When we say please whenever we need, or whenever we need to request for something, it helps, because the reader will see that you are saying please. The reader will see your need and help you accordingly. Now if you become arrogant, if you think that no, I don't need to say please, that reader, your audience or your client must do whatever you want. It won't work. It won't go the way you want it to go, right? Or let's say using sorry. When you apologize, when you say sorry whenever it is needed, people will realize that you're apologizing. People will realize that you have a good heart, and your good heart will lead to a good business, good partnership, or good deal in your business, right? So these things were also necessary, and she was trying to teach us how we can praise and please, let's say praise people, and then it can affect our business in a very good way, right? Now let's move on. Now here in this screen, you can see write a response letter to this complaint. Here are questions, but this is not your assignment, okay? Don't get confused. The assignment is yet to come. Now this is just a question. Write a response letter, but I don't want you to write a letter right now. I just want you to write a few lines. Now let's look at the points here. You are a manager at customer care department at Daraz, Nepal. Okay, so you are the manager there. You receive this complaint regarding the delivery of ordered goods. So please write a response letter to customer A. So what customer A wrote is, let me read this. Dear Daraz, Nepal, when we order next day delivery fresh goods, pay by credit card and receive email confirming the order, we don't expect a call 2 days later for another confirmation. Don't seek excuses for your delay. So customer A wrote this, and customer A doesn't seem to be very happy. So now you are the manager of customer care department in Daraz. So what will you write now? How will you respond to them? So what I want you to do is, I want you all to just write a short paragraph or of let's say